Welcome back to us another episode with Gist with Dobra. I still have my friend here, my guy here, all the way from Zimbabwe. Everybody, welcome Tinashe Alpha.
Alpha, hey,
When
you
I say
told me last,
Alpha,
yeah.
you
How
say
you,
I
how you,
did.
how you day?
Yeah,
How
no.
you day?
When I say Alpha, you say I did.
Oh, I did.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I'm so grateful for you honoring this invitation again. Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah.
so much.
Oh, yeah. It's good. Feels good to be back here again. Yeah.
Yeah. How have the week I've been with you? Like,
Yeah. It's been good, but you know how it is here. It's just work and work, and everything is according to schedule. So it's never fun because you're
it's never
just doing
fun.
the same thing over and over again.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Mm.
sometimes you just try to make it fun with yourself,
Yeah.
fun with, just try to create fun.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Whatever you do, create fun, because if you don't create fun, man, you
Yeah.
can go crazy in this country.
Yeah, that's true. Especially like with the summer coming, this is where we take time to do something. Because
Yeah.
you know us, we're not used to the winter. So when the winter is here, we make sure we stay inside the house.
Yeah, I have a lot of plans rolled out for this
Okay.
summer, and I think I'm going to tell you some of them
Yeah.
after we finish recording.
That's perfect.
Like what's the little discussion we just had now? Like, this brings me to my very first question.
Yes.
Is Canada worth it?
Canada. I don't know. I think it is. This mainly the reason why we're staying here. Because I think it is sometimes. When we look at it, we look at the financial point of from a financial point of view. I think it's worth it because the work conditions and also the living conditions are so much better than the ones that we have. There are problems. To be honest, there's no way where there's no problems.
Okay.
Like everywhere around the world, wherever you might live, there's always those pros and those cons.
Yeah.
But I think it is. It's a case where when we're here, we have things that we couldn't do when we're back home that we can actually do here, that we can actually enjoy. And in the long run, I think it's all about what we're going to get in the long run, how this will affect me, how this will affect my children, and how this will affect my family. I think that's more of the bigger picture of it.
Okay. Yeah, and like as it is, most of us came with our families.
Yeah.
And we came here, we saw a little bit surprised. We were surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, for instance, I stayed back home I was back home in Nigeria, where things were quite different. You pay, I don't know about Zimbabwe, but in Nigeria, you don't pay your house monthly.
Mm-hmm.
You pay yearly.
Okay.
And even though you calculate what you earn, I'm privileged enough to earn a little bit what you earn, you still have a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Not for everybody, actually, but in my own case, I still had a lot to keep for myself. But moving here to Canada, especially when you are not in the not so buzzing career when it comes to medical people, the IT guys.
Yeah. Those guys, they
real
do make
estate
it.
moguls, and those guys that earn so much. We tend to. My wife works here in Canada. Actually, she works. What's your take on shared responsibility when it comes to managing the family?
Yeah, I think it's something that is I don't know, because coming from Zimbabwe, it's a little bit different, like you said.
Okay.
We're kind of used to this thing where I had to pay rent monthly, like every month I had to pay rent.
Okay.
And we're still, in Zimbabwe, it's an economy where mostly we use US dollar. We don't use we rarely do use the local currency, but having to pay rent every month was something that we had to do. Okay. But the thing that I see here is, at least the good thing about it is, if you have a job, you can be able to have something that is within your means that you can pay for.
Yeah.
And also be able to set something aside.
Okay.
It's a give or take. It's not exactly like, the best life that I'd want to, but I feel like there's more opportunity here than there is for for me back home.
Okay.
And, like giving opportunities for business. There are not too many crowded markets for business. It might be harder to start a business, but you might really do well when you own a business here. And I think that's the real reason maybe why we're here to get that little extra.
Yeah.
But then we think about many things again, like the social aspect, like it's not as good as we had it back home. We are always, you're always talking to people. You're always around people. You're always around your family. You're always around. But here you might find yourself, especially when you don't have anyone around. You might be alone all the time.
Yeah. So you believe that the shared responsibility as couples, immigrant couples, most especially from Africa. Back home we are like more of the sole provider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when we came here, for me it was like I can't do this on my own. So my wife,
she had to work. Yeah, that's true.
So do you think, is it like an advantage? Don't you think is actually making us men? Don't you feel a little bit that, I don't want to use the word retard, that don't you feel like, okay, you are not man enough, in quotes, that you are supposed to be the sole provider, let your wife money be her money? Don't you feel that way, or do you feel that way sometimes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it just goes back to an old saying, when you're in Rome, you do what the Romans do. So I feel that's the way that you can be able to survive here. Because I do not personally see how it is possible for, as a family, for you to have your wife stay at home and your children stay at home while you go to work. You might need to work. Both of you might need to work, and that's the norm here. It's something that we're not used to. But when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do, and it actually works. You find a lot of couples that are coming in from Africa. They actually are able to raise their family and do better for themselves because they are working together. As the husband and the wife, they work together and take shared responsibility in taking care of the family. But I know it brings a lot of adjustments, especially on our part as men.
Yeah.
Now, I can imagine when sometimes when your wife goes to work and she has to leave you with children, and you have to take care of them. It's something that you were not used to doing back then. Yeah, you might not be used to it. Then, that's the shared responsibility when you have to cook, when you have to clean, because maybe she might not be available at that moment. But it presents a challenge. I'm sure that's a really challenging situation, and it's really a drastic, like a big adjustment.
Yeah. Like, I feel that most of our women, I might be wrong, are losing it. We have seen a lot of marriages, cultural shock, a lot of marriages broken.
Yeah, that's true.
The high rate of divorce happens among immigrants, especially because there's a story I saw on Instagram sometimes ago. This guy who is a medical doctor in Nigeria came to Canada.
Yeah.
Migrated with his family, came to Canada, and because of because of regulations, he can actually practice here in Canada. Yeah. He can actually practice here, so he was just doing some menial jobs. Back home, the wife was working because the wife too is a medical. She's a medical doctor, and they came here. After like 6 months, about a year, the man started complaining that the man complained that the wife left the house. Back home, normally,
it's not.
I'm sure the man is just like, the woman's money is her money. You know what they say? My money is my money. Why the man's money is our money? So I think the woman could not face. For my own take, I don't know the full story, but I think the woman could not see herself working, and because the cultural shock that she has to contribute for the family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think being here in Canada is actually breaking. I might be wrong too. I know the audience might think something different, but it's actually breaking our African values.
Oh yeah.
Our cultural value, like, okay, how we stick together as marriage, even though you see our parents, our grandparents, our parents, the divorce rate is not high. But now, I think even those ones that did not even dream of getting divorced back home in Africa, but when they come here, I think the women see a legal ground to just, let me get out from this marriage. There's nothing he's actually doing that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. This question, do you share the same sentiments with me in that aspect?
Yeah, I think first of all, when we come here, we don't normally think about what we're really losing when we come to Canada. We only think about, when anyone migrates or moves abroad, we only think about what we're winning or what we're going to take. But we never think about what we're actually losing because we're putting a lot on the line.
Okay.
Remember, all those cultural values that we have in Africa are really big. And you yourself know that we are really big on culture. Culture is everything. Yeah. Like we have to do things by the way culture is. But here's the thing now. When you come here, those values only work when you're in Africa.
Okay.
But when you come here, you find that, yes, you have a part of it that does work. But now you have to change. It requires changes in a lot of ways. There are a lot of new things that you have to learn. And a lot of new things that you have to do, or you have to do things in certain ways. And it's something that we can find difficult, and it's normal because we're human beings.
Yeah.
We grew up knowing some things that we know, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those things can be right in certain contexts.
Okay.
So that's where we find ourselves when we're here, and then it's the family arrangement, and the wife starts going to work, and will she be able to change and still maintain that respect for her husband? And also for the husband, will he be also able to change and also be able to start doing those kind of things that he was never used to doing when he was back home? So it's that big change that we're not used to. It's so drastic. And yeah, you're right. It's kind of difficult. I can finding myself, in a situation where maybe my wife is getting more than I am, and we are trying to merge things, and we have to do things together. And yeah, for women having to work and share, willing to give what they have in what they're getting from their work, and having to share it with the family. That is something that we have to adjust to, but it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
So you agree that most of those things are not. It's not easy to adapt to the system, and because when you have been maybe almost 30 years, almost 3 decades, you have a particular belief thought, a particular belief, a particular thought, a particular thinking, a particular way of life. Then coming here in the first world place like Canada, you start that change cannot just come immediately.
That's exactly my point.
So then there's so the solution. What do you think the solution should be? Because for me, it is worrying seeing marriages going through this this kind of phase when they move down here, and you just hear, "Oh, I'm leaving. I'm no longer getting married to you anymore. You are not what it is like."
Yeah.
The man sometimes decide to leave, but I might be sentimental here, but I think most times the women are the ones leaving. Like, what do you think is the solution?
Well,
to that, like, what do you believe? What do you think should be like the solution to make these marriages work? Yeah, when they experience this kind of changes.
Yeah, I think whether or not we like it, we have to go through it. It's a change that we have to go through, and the struggles that are there, we just have to enjoy them in one way or the other. But I think the solution is basically to be able to adjust, to be willing to adjust. And that adjustment should not be for one party, but for all parties. You know, the man, the woman, they should be able to adjust. You should be able to say now, okay, this is the situation that I'm in. Okay, can we sit down and talk and say, okay, how can we handle this? What responsibility can we assign each other? Can we help each other with this and with this in this department? And can we also have help each other in that department? So I think it calls for a more I think that's when the strength of the household is actually tested, because now you have to think to yourself like, okay, now I'm changing. I have to do this. I never used to do this, right? I have to do that. You find yourself taking, cleaning the house as a man while your wife is at work, and how you take it. Like sometimes she's going to come back from work and she's tired and you have to cook, but you're not used to that. Like for me personally, I'm not good at that.
Most men don't know how to cook actually.
It's not my thing.
It's not
my thing. But it's that drastic change that is coming up, and how you react to it. You might be able to react to it well, but your partner might not be able to react to it. Yeah. And this also goes with the children. Like, will they be able to react to the change that's there? I know children will adapt better to situations than adults do. But like I said before, when we come here, we do not expect this. The change is just too big. Oh, wow. It's just too big. You spend 5-6 years, of your life trying to change. Like for me personally, I know it's been about close to 2 years, but I'm still learning. There are a lot of things that I want to learn. Not in just general in life. There are many things that I really want to learn. Okay. Like there are many things that you don't know or that you learn every day. You don't know you don't know the laws of the country. You don't know what you're supposed to do. You don't know what you're supposed to do. And then you start to learn it. You don't know what to do. If you want to open a business, what do you do? What steps do you take? If you want to, it's those things that you continue to learn day by day, and they take years and years of
practice and consciousness of putting in work to.
Yes. Because I feel sometimes for a lot for, people who come here and, they had a nice job, they had their education back home, and now you come here to Canada and then you find yourself, you're working as you're cleaning. Janitor. A janitor is something that is a job that is looked down on in Africa. Yeah. And then how will you be able to adjust those kind of changes? Like, it's something that you never expected. You came here with your degrees, your masters, you're thinking, I'm going to get myself a good job. Yeah. And then you end up selling ice cream. It happens.
It
happens. So it's starting over again. If you just erase everything that you knew and say, okay, I'm starting my life over again. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E. And then maybe you might want to start going to school again. You might find a job. You might try to climb the ladder as you go up, and, it might be beneficial for us and also for the future generation, thinking about the children.
Yeah, true. In this, what you said now, and I don't want to sound controversial. Do you feel men are in the losing end, moving into, like, coming to a first world country? Do you feel men are in the losing end? Like everything's just not working. The system is making us to lose. Do you feel men are in the losing end?
I think we have some things that we lose and some things that we actually win. As men, you no longer have that authority that you had. The authority that you're the man of the house. Okay. Like the men back in the day, you remember our fathers when they were men. If he gets back home, if you hear that door is opening, then whatever you're doing that is silly, you stop it.
Yeah.
True. So it's kind of different now. You you don't have that much authority that you have. And yeah, it differs from one person to another. I know there are some men who are really big on that, who are big on authority, and there are men who are big on, being the man of the house.
Yeah.
And then, some men choose not to. There's nothing wrong with that. Families are different, and, it's all in relation to how you handle things in your family. But then, it might be a win for some. It might be a loss for some, especially in that kind of area.
Yeah.
But, it's also a win in the shared responsibility. Sometimes you have to. The situation forces you to just sometimes lay back.
Yeah.
And let your partner continue with another aspect of responsibilities that you cannot be able to do on your own, that you maybe you were used to doing, but you can no longer do it on your own. Like if you see with the locals,
okay,
they're used to it. It's a situation. It's actually a thing that they're used to it. It's a thing that they're already used to. They shared responsibilities and they know how well to work with it. But now it's us that suffer.
Yeah.
Because we have to start over again from scratch.
Yeah,
we have to,
it's like we are babies.
Yes.
Yeah, we are learning new things and
Yeah.
we are just trying to come up and everything.
Yeah.
And as you said, the locals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I don't want to get anyone offended, but I don't feel that the locals have a way, especially the men.
Mm-hmm.
The way they have the way to just cover up their asses, like not to be committed. That's why we don't see a lot of people getting married.
Yeah,
we see
that's
a lot
true.
of people who are like
that's true.
What's what they call them? Civil law.
Yeah.
Is this civil?
Yeah.
What's it?
Common law partner.
Common law partners.
Yeah,
we have a lot of common law partners, and because I feel that's the way for them to shield themselves from from what they are going to lose. This brings me to my next question too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see, like the question is, are African women becoming wiser, or should I say wiser, or are they aware, or they are just trying to, especially those ones who have some grudges with their husband, what the man did for them, like in maybe 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, and once they come here, they're just like, okay,
now you don't run the show.
Yeah, you don't run the show. I'm going to take advantage of it.
Yes.
Do you feel most of these things happening, the divorce rate, the divorce rate that is going on among Africans? Do you feel the women are becoming wiser, or they just like dying a revenge mission to just do what they want to do, take advantage of the system, and just let me just leave this.
I think now it goes to the basis of a relationship first in the first place. Someone maybe might be there because you can be able to support and take care of, and then when someone is able to do it on their own, you can be able to do it on your own, and you're no longer of use. So it's more of how strong it is. If it's a really strong relationship, then she will be able to. You can be able to adjust together. You can be able to sit down and have a discussion and actually see the way forward in the way you're doing things. But some still stick to the respect. Like I said it before, it goes down to the respect. In those kind of situations where you can be able to do it, can you still be able to maintain that respect? That's where some get it wrong. And, I know there's some situations and cases where those things happen. And it might be because of what happened back in the day. Yeah, someone might have had, say, an issue.
Yeah.
And then, she comes here and she's like, okay, now he has the cards in his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then it goes down to that kind of thing. It does happen. We have those kind of relationships where, someone is with someone because they wanted to,
for what they can gain in the relationship.
Or someone could take care of me, or someone could, whatever reason that was there. It now goes down to how strong it was. And can you be able to work with your partner? because I've seen there are some relationships that actually come here and, people go abroad and actually thrive better.
Yeah,
it does happen. They actually thrive better because they're able to understand each other. Yeah. So it's being able to make those changes together, and, yeah, I know as men, it does pose a challenge for us, like, your wife now is working, and you are basically more or less making the same amount of money, and and your decisions, and your decisions on the money, like, what are we gonna use this money for? So it's
hard.
It's a hard situation. I feel for the African community, to be honest, but it is a good thing. It is a good change because,
come to think of it too, like the Asian community, especially those from India, maybe Pakistani, China, those parts, the Asian community, I think they have some similar cultures with Africa too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. But these people are still thriving. Yeah, like you see, their rate of divorce is very slim. Like you can see like maybe 10 African families, or 10, let me put it, 10 African families. Then you see, maybe, I don't know, my statistics might be wrong. Out of the 10, you just find only maybe 3 or 4 that is in a good, or the marriages are still together. I'm not talking about those who met here and get married here, or those who grew up here and they understand the system. I'm talking about those who came from Africa, migrated into Canada, and sometimes you just see maybe out of 10 marriage. I said before, my statistic might be wrong, but let me just put it like 5 equal. 5 is divorced, 5 are still married, and even the ones that are still married, they're just trying to push it. I know no marriage is perfect. They're still trying to make it work and everything.
Yeah.
But in the Asian community, these things their marriage seems to be like working perfectly. You don't hear the
they still stick close to. I think they still stick close to their culture. Like, they maintain their culture so much. That's one thing I've noticed. Sometimes as Africans, when you come here, we tend to want to just deviate entirely away from what our culture, and start to take on the culture of
what you met here,
what we've met here, and do things this way, and then of course there are a lot of things, like I said, that we have to change, but for them, I think they
keep their core values.
Yeah, they keep those core values together, especially in their marriages. They actually do. I have a lot of Indian friends that actually had to go back home, to get married, and then they come back here, and and they they treat their marriage the same way that they did back home. So I don't know, it's a culture thing for them, definitely. I've noticed that it's really, I don't know much about it, but I've noticed that the culture is really important. It's really important. It's really important to them.
Are we losing it? We Africans?
I don't know.
Losing our culture?
I don't know. I think maybe we are, but at one point, yes, with our children, they will definitely take on the culture that's here. It's something that we know. They will definitely take on the culture that's here. But us, the people who are the immigrants, we do try to stick to our culture, but then in some circumstances now we suffer because it doesn't always work.
Okay. So, let's move down to our children now. Like, I've seen on the internet too, you hear people complain that, especially when you have a child who is born in Africa and brought down here in Canada, the education system is different. Almost everything is different. Yeah. The only thing that is not different is because the child is still having you as the dad and mom. Maybe sometimes they still eat African food, you understand? But when it goes to school, it's trying to fit in. Sometimes the child cannot fit in. You understand? Or there's a way you have brought up your child which is different from what is here. I've heard people complain about, do you know that our children are active, very active. And yeah, the school system starts saying our children are overactive. They say words like hyperactive. You hear things like HDH.
Exactly. Exactly. She's diagnosed with something that you never heard about before.
Yeah. And those things I'm not saying they are what they diagnose is bad or we shouldn't be aware of those things. But I feel when that most of our children suffer so much from this all these their diagnosis that they are doing. You see your child, they'll say, oh, your child is having ADHD. You understand?
ADHD.
Yeah. And your child is what's this other one? I've forgotten the other name, but your child have something like that. Do you feel that our school system, our education system back home in Africa do not have most of these things? Do you feel that these people here, the education here are hard on our children, giving them this tag? Because many African children suffer those things.
Yeah.
Like they just call you, see, yeah, you get a phone call from the school, or they give you a letter, you need to, you have to take your child to the child therapist. Sometimes I look at my child, which is totally normal for me. It's normal. I'm not a professional.
Yeah.
You understand? But you've grown up. We had younger ones back home that were growing up. You have cousins, nieces, nephews that you saw them, them born and they are growing up and everything. And obviously you have your child you saw growing up. Then one doctor, one child therapist or whatever is telling you that your child is something like that. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a challenge, eh? That one is really big because it does happen. And, for you as a parent, it's something that you're not prepared to take on because, you can look at the child and say, no, this child's behavior is okay.
It's okay.
But, I do not blame the system because that's what they used to. If they notice an abnormal behavior in a child, then definitely they want to call it out. So,
what's abnormal?
Something that they are not used to. Not that we are not used to. You might be used to it.
Yeah.
But they might not be used to it. So I don't blame them for that because, personally, I think the child is fine sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just a different behavior from a child that they do not expect. They might expect a certain type of behavior from a child, but they might be wrong, they might be right. But sometimes, this, I'm African, like growing up, you get over these things in time. Yeah. The kid might get over some of these things in time. Some of these behaviors, they might change.
Yeah.
So maybe it might be some behavior patterns that they try to see, try to find out. And they continue to say, okay, there's something wrong here and there and there and there. It does happen. It has happened to children that are close to me before. And, we had a hard time. With, especially like one of my nephews.
Yeah.
That happened to him. And, but normally to me, there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. we can talk, we can have a good conversation. He's going to school, he's doing okay in school and all that. But it's just that children have a different behavior sometimes. And it could be also maybe that with the cultural change or the cultural shock that's there's a certain type of behavior that the kid might start to have because of the changes that are there, the big changes. I wouldn't know much because I'm not in that kind of field.
Yeah.
But I do understand the sentiments when you say, yes, these things happen. And I've seen them happen in schools where children coming from Africa and then you're told this and you're told that. But it's just something that we're not used to. But that's how the system is and that's how it works. And
so we just need to accept the system as it is.
I not really. But I think it's a good thing for parents to be able to assess and to see if it is worth looking more into. Or I'm sure parents know their children very well. When you know your child very well, their behavior and everything, and you might be able to. And it's just something maybe as a parent you might want to look into it, as to observe the behavior in child and see how best you can help him. Okay. Yeah. I think that's just basically it. But to us, we knew when we were growing up, even right now in Africa, we don't have those things. We don't have many of those things unless something really, really is wrong. Then that's when you're called and they tell you that something's wrong here. We need to change it. But it's never really the case. Children just grow up and go to school, and we never really hear of that.
Yeah. Personally, I've been relating to the previous question I asked you. Mm-hmm. Personally, I've been labeled, given a tag by the system, maybe colleagues at work, say, okay, you are this kind of person. Mm-hmm. As Africans or as immigrants in workplace, we are not used to so many the system here, but we are trying to fit into the system here. Mm-hmm. And it's not their business. We have to fit in. Exactly. Which is because we brought ourselves here, so we have to fit in. I feel sometimes these people just give us a tag that is not us, like a name that is not we. They have called me angry before. Oh, this guy is an angry person. Not that I'm an angry person. I know I'm not. I'm never an angry person. For me, I think I'm the sweetest person to be with, because when you are with me, I always want to be happy. You understand? But the system here have made us like, they will look, oh, you're angry when you voice out, because sometimes you might be disrespected at work. Then you say, okay, no, I can't be disrespected. We are all colleagues here. You are not my superior. Even my superior, there's a limit to how you would disrespect me, even though as my superior. You don't need to attack my person. Attack the situation, not my person. Have you experienced those kind of situation at work, and how did you deal with it? Because I want maybe some of our viewers to, new immigrants coming in, to learn from it. How did you deal with those kind of situations? Because they'll definitely be there. Get those.
So yeah, it's true. I still remember I found myself at one point in my boss's office, and I was telling my boss that sometimes you have to be mindful of the fact that we are not used to the way that you work. Yeah. We are used to the way that we work. Yeah. And like you said before, I told her the same thing that you said. It's our responsibility to make these changes, because we're the ones who came in here. Yeah. So it's our responsibility to try to adjust to those work ethics that we're used to, adjust from the work ethics that we're used to back in Africa to the work ethics that are here. There are a lot of things that I've found myself having to change, especially when it comes to the work environment. Some things are offensive, which were not offensive. Yeah. And in that case, I would want to say, it's not one-sided. I think it's both. It goes both ways. There's some things that we do that can offend, Yeah. So some things that can offend the people that are
used to the system.
That are used to the system. And there's some things that they can do that can offend us who are not used to the system. Yeah. It's just a case of the change in the culture, because the culture comes also to the work to the work environment. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it also comes down also to the work environment, where you find yourself, okay, you basically, there's some things, you're just supposed to know by yourself that you're not supposed to do this when you're working. Yeah. But then it's different because you're coming from a different place. And then now you're in a situation where you think this is okay, and you just do it. You don't have to ask, because you from the time you started working, it's okay for me to do this when I'm at work. but it's different here. You know, like, for example, when we're here, we're paid by the hour. You cannot even waste even 30 seconds of your time at work. But it's different from, you know, the way I used to work when I was back in Africa.
Paid monthly.
You're paid monthly. Even if you take a day off, you're still paid for that day off. Yeah. But it's different here. You cannot be paid for that day off unless you ask for the sick days that you have. And everything is, you know, has to be done on time. And you cannot be late for work. You cannot leave work early. And it's that kind of thing where we have to adjust to these kind of situations. And I think it's also good to have a dialogue sometimes with them. Yes.
With the system, yeah.
Yes. So that they know that some things that you might do, okay, this and that and that and that.
Do you think they will listen to us? Because I feel they don't care. Sorry, most of them might. I feel most of them don't care.
It's like I said, it's two-sided.
Yeah.
It's two-sided. You know, the work environment is just the work environment. I feel like, we're treated also by our bosses back home in a bad way sometimes.
Yeah.
If you're working, we're just treated that's how it is. It's always a battlefield when you're at work. For me, that's how I feel like it is. But I have found that it's, the way I have personally approached it is when I go to work, I give them what they want. I go to work, I give them what they want, and then I leave work. All right? I do not want to take anything that is at work personal, or to take it personal, or to harbor, resentment on behalf of someone, like to hate someone because of what they're doing.
You can hate someone, but for me personally, I've had argument, not really argument, like taking a stand about something. Like, okay, first off, I've an opportunity, privilege to work in multicultural settings because of my background back home. Working on ships, I've worked with different
nationalities and cultures. Yeah.
Then coming here, doing something that I'm not used to, you understand. Then you tend to see people, because the kind of environment I'm working in is a place that, okay, they respect hierarchy. You understand. And even though you have that hierarchy, you are in a position of leadership, and you don't even try to demean people who are like maybe below you.
Yeah.
But I don't know, some settings, some work environments here are toxic. I'm trying to like,
I understand you.
It's hard. I'm sorry. It's hard to just not to fight back in not for a better word to say, like not to just say, no, you don't do me this. I remember I told one person, I told her, please. I told him, please, don't talk to me this way. Like, I don't appreciate you talking to me this way. If you don't like something about my job, talk to me that you don't like about my job. Or better still, just tell me to go. I will respect that. Not a way that you want to demean me or anything. No, it just, I don't know. That's my take, actually. But it might be somebody out there might have a better approach. But I feel, my people, when you're coming here, just try to know that the system is different. What you are used to back home in Africa
is different.
But when you come here, it's totally different.
I do understand, especially in part of the work environment. That's another part. That's another point. You know, the work environment or the ethics in Africa, you know, they're a bit more confrontational. If you do something bad, they will confront you. Or if you're the boss, you confront the person and tell them, okay, this is what you did and this is bad. But it's different here because it's less confrontational. They avoid confrontation because of certain rules and certain laws that are put in place. So you find yourself, the matter is maybe when someone does something, the matter is addressed as a group. You know, I had a problem with it at first, but then I noticed that, oh no, it's the work ethics that are here. it's less confrontational. They avoid that confrontation. But I do believe everything is solved by, I really believe in dialogue. Like if you talk about it, if you say it, and I do not disagree with you about being able to talk about, to be able to speak up when you're not comfortable with anything that happens to you. And one other point that I do have is stereotypes are really there amongst everyone. I mean, for everyone, stereotypes are there. It's something that people try to fight, but sometimes they work on it. They use it.
No, I don't feel
we
work
do
on
that.
it. Like you say, stereotypes. Like, why do you want to tell me that I am this, or you generalize everybody because they are from a particular region or a particular race, and say, okay, this is the way they are. Everybody are raised different. Raised different. Grow up in different environments. Had previous experience working. Some people have worked with so many multinational, different people that I understand the way they work because I've worked with them before. But the thing is that they are not dealing with the situation at hand. You find out, okay, you had an issue at work. Maybe not your shift. I'm not even talking about your shift. Not like you had an issue at work on your shift. Funny enough, the next shift is going to hear about your issue. People talk like for me, if they don't solve the issue, you just go about the person. Like, this is the issue on ground. Okay, sort this out. You understand? Oh, call me to your office and tell me, okay, this is your mistake. I will agree. I own my mistake. Oh, I made this mistake. I understand that. But there's something I'm trying to still understand why you guys do this thing. You don't deal with the issue. You attack the person. You gang up. I'm sorry. You just go and just say words like this. Oh, this person is this. This is what the person did. You don't deal with the issue. You tell everybody, oh, this. And people just try, and they might not know why you took some certain decision at work. You did some certain things at work, or this is against maybe I don't want to say maybe you do something against the work. Most times when we have mistake at work, we make some mistake. For me, it might not be mistake. You are trying to help, but because it is not the way they do things.
Yeah.
It is now an offense. For me, I will be like, no, I'm trying to help out. That's why I'm trying to do something this way. Do something this way, then you just do it. Then you judge me because I did it this other way. And you say, oh, I went against. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. It's like I said before, it's a culture that we're not used to.
Okay.
That we really have to try to adjust to, because I do find myself at work, I have to defend myself every time. If I'm falsely accused of something, I have to make sure that I defend myself because of that. But then, come to think of it, I thought of it this way. What if we look at it from the other point of view? It's not only, it's not, look at it this way, where sometimes it might be a situation where you might also be doing something wrong. And
I'm totally fine with
and it's, so what I'm just trying to say is sometimes we can also have that kind of thinking ourselves, as we can stereotype a certain race or a certain community. It does happen. And then, the stereotypes can also come, like they said, it's everywhere. It's in everybody. But I think it's trying to find a solution for it, and being able to work in a way that, like we said before, you have to understand the system, and you have to work in the way that you have to take on the ethics or the work ethics that we find here. Then you have to take on those work ethics. I have nothing wrong, like I said, with defending yourself and being able to say no, to speak up, to say, okay, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. But it's also about the way we view work in general. I do find it's just a thing that's just in the community that we're not used to. An issue can happen.
Yeah.
And then it's discussed by everybody.
By everybody. Like,
it's just something that can happen. And unfortunately, yes, we're not used to it. Yeah.
Call me to your office and tell me this is what I did. I agree when you just say, okay, so people have friends at workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you and your friends discuss.
Mm-hmm.
That's something. But you see something openly, they'll just discuss you. What is going on with you and everything. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah, it's something that we're not used to. But it's just, like I said, it's something that with the work ethics, people are just used to that kind of situation. And like I said before, at work, even back home, we had problems. We had problems with the bosses. We had problems. Even anyone who grew up here in this environment has problems with the bosses. They have problems at work. It's always people who are coming from different backgrounds and circumstances, and they're coming together and they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to work. Obviously, people always rub each other in a bad way. So I just view it that way. Like we're just going to rub each other in a bad way. But for me personally, I go to work, I give them the hours, I give them the work that they want me to do.
You just get up from
when the bell rings, I do not do any further work from there. I take my leave and go. I don't try to build relationships or whatever at work or that kind of thing. It's just how I handle it. At work, it's just professional, strictly professional. Okay. If something goes wrong, I communicate and I say this. If I'm at wrong, I'll just say, okay, I'm at wrong. This is my fault.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm not, then I'll defend myself. I'm not at fault at this. And I make sure that I always leave a trace to make sure that I won't be found at fault if it's not my fault. Okay. And then when the bell rings, I'm a different person. I go home. That's it. That's just work to me. Yeah. So I do not personally, I'm not a fan of taking work things personal. Work things are work things. When I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm at home, I'm at home. Because I'm dealing with people I don't know, people I never grew up with, We definitely will.
Even your wife too, you have issues with it.
Yeah, we have issues with everyone. But anyway, the good thing is I'm still getting paid. So
get paid and just get up.
And I go home.
You go home.
Yeah. No matter what happens, no matter if they say it's my blame, the money will still come to me, and I'm good. Yeah, I don't really care what's gonna happen there.
I want to wind this down.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the future of Africa? Do you feel Africa will become better or Africa will just go worse?
I don't know. I can't really predict what's going on with Africa. I don't want to be negative about Africa because there are a lot of positives that we can take out of it, and at the same time, I think people have just come to a position where they want to survive because there's a lot of struggle in Africa. There's a lot of poverty that goes on. Sometimes you might not even know the poverty that's there because a lot of people grow up in it. So, you never know that you're in poverty until you see the rich. They said.
True.
So when you compare with other communities and other communities like here, you get to realize that, okay, there's a big difference and there might be a problem. But I think Africa it's really a good place. I personally really enjoy living in Africa. It's not only about because life is not only about the money. To be honest, it's also about those relationships that I have back in Africa. The kind of lifestyle that I want is there because I'm used to it. To be honest, but I just hope that a lot of people will be able to do well And especially when it comes to issues of poverty and many disadvantages that are there. I just hope that they can stop. Like, I'm thinking about the health system. I'm talking about things like the education system.
Yeah.
And being able to find a job, being able to work,
Yeah.
being able to take care of the family, the household, and everything. That is one thing that because everything is from a financial perspective. From everything from a financial perspective in Africa is affected. But in any other way, we can take on a lot of positives that are there in Africa.
Yeah. I get you. So like now, okay, what solutions? Because you've spoken about poverty. Because we have a lot of poverty, poverty in education, poverty in every aspect of poverty. You find that. I know our leaders are the ones, because Africans, we have so many resources, we can't even count. I know Namibia, the kind of, as their population is like 3 million, with a very vast land and natural resources underground and on the surface. That country should be like should be like the richest country because they have a very small population. Thank God for the new president now making some policies. I've been watching the news and the Burkina Faso guy, Ibrahim, I think is it Ibrahim? Traore. I don't remember his first name now. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of changes back home in Africa. So there are some droplets of hope in Africa. So what do you think we in the diaspora, because we can't leave it for our people back home, what do you think we can contribute to make African great again and to make African great? Because I don't know if it has always been a time that it was great. Maybe during the Egyptian, I don't know, during those times it was great, but let me talk about my reality now. What do you think that Africans in diaspora can contribute to make Africa great? And we can all say, oh, like me, I really want to go back. But sometimes when I think about these circumstances that made me live there and come here, going back home is
it's
difficult. But what do you think I can contribute? You can contribute?
Personally, I don't know what we can contribute, but what I can say is this. I think with the whole multicultural societies that are coming up, we see a lot of immigration more than ever in this in the modern world.
Yeah.
We see a lot of immigration and a lot of multicultural societies.
Yeah.
Before I came here, I didn't know how many immigrants were around. We're actually in different countries in Europe and in North America. We can expect some changes with that, but for the good or for the bad, I wouldn't know. I can't really predict the future, but I can see a lot of changes, especially with the multicultural societies that are coming up.
So you feel okay because of most of us are just most of us here, those that came here, who were born here, single, who came here single, were born here. As they grow up, as they marry, we intermarry from people from different continents, different race, and most of us, like those, I see a lot of influx from people from the Caribbean going back to Africa. So you feel what you're saying now is that because of this multicultural world we have now, it will make a lot of
changes around the world. Yeah, that includes Africa. And right now we can actually see it with how immigrants are contributing to to a change. Coming here, a lot of people can be able to support their families
back home.
Yeah, and their extended families back home, which is a positive. You can be able to support people that cannot be able to make it back home. And I think that's how this whole thing, or the whole immigration thing, is changing, or the multicultural societies are just changing the scene, the system around the world. But as for the future, we wouldn't know. But at least it's a bit of help for those who are living in poverty, those who cannot be able to make ends meet, those who cannot be able to afford decent accommodation, those who can afford a decent meal. It's a positive for people back home in Africa.
Okay, my very last question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on Donald Trump?
I'm not gonna comment about that. I'm not gonna comment about that one. Yeah, I personally am a person who doesn't believe in anything that political leaders can change. Okay. You know, or that on how politics can really, you know, change what change people.
Yeah.
In general.
Okay.
You know, it's something that
you try not to. Yeah. Personally,
yeah.
I don't know. I reserve my comments about it. Thank you so much, Tina. Right. I'm grateful. Thank you for coming through.
All right.
Yeah, grateful.